In 1914, April brought a comforting warmth, relieving the lingering winter chill. At Lake Pontchartrain, Louisiana, the waters glimmered like a sea of diamonds under the brilliant sunshine. The vast expanse of the lake seemed to stretch out forever, its ends disappearing into the horizon like a mirage. The gentle breeze carried with it the sweet fragrance of blooming flowers and the salty aroma of the sea. The rustling leaves and birds chirping created a symphony of sounds, a tranquil melody that played perfectly with the lapping of waves against the shore. In the picturesque setting, Patricia Kelley, a vibrant and energetic young woman, joyfully played in the alluring waters of the lake. Her long honey-colored hair flowed down her back like a waterfall, complementing her graceful movements as she swam. With the agility of a dolphin, her slender body glided through the water, embodying a sense of freedom and tranquility, detached from the worries of everyday life. Patricia was surrounded by the lively chatter of her friends as they splashed around in the cool waters of the lake. The sun beat down on them, creating a golden aura that shone on their faces and glistened on the water's surface. The playful banter between them was punctuated by the occasional shriek of delight as they dove beneath the surface, reveling in the refreshing embrace of the lake. As Patricia swam, she could feel the cold water enveloping her body, taking the heat out of her skin. She relished the sensation, feeling invigorated and alive. The water was deep and mysterious, as she could feel the pull of the depths calling out to her. However, Patricia noticed that her friends were not as eager to venture out into the middle of the lake. They seemed hesitant, staying close to the shore and glaring at the water's murky depths. Curious, Patricia asked her friends why they were so hesitant to explore the deeper parts of the lake. They hesitated, exchanging nervous glances before finally admitting that they had seen a massive dark figure lurking under the water's surface. Patricia scoffed, dismissing their fears as mere phantoms of their imagination. She encouraged them to embrace their sense of adventure and explore the wonders of the lake's deeper waters. Without hesitation, Patricia began to swim towards the middle of the lake, eager to show her friends that there was nothing to fear. The water grew colder and darker as she swam, and the shadows beneath her seemed to deepen. Yet she pressed on, propelled by a sense of curiosity and bravery. As Patricia splashed around in the middle of the vast lake, the water shimmered in the warm sun, and she couldn't help but feel a sense of carefree joy. Her friends paddled nearby, but Patricia's adventurous spirit led her to venture further. She laughed and called out to her friends, assuring them that the water was safe and free from danger. But as the words left her lips, an unseen terror grabbed her leg with crushing force. Pain, as she had never felt before, seared through Patricia's body, and she let out a blood-curdling scream that echoed across the serene lake. Her friends quickly realized something was happening, but were frozen in fear, unsure what to do. The grip on Patricia's leg was unrelenting, and panic set in. She frantically looked down, hoping for some explanation, but what she saw made her heart sink. A monstrous great white shark, nearly twice her size, had clamped down under her leg with razor-sharp teeth. The beast's jaws were like a vice, easily tearing through her flesh and bone. Patricia's screams were drowned out by the shark thrashing violently, like a demon from the depths of the lake. In desperation, Patricia's survival instincts kicked in, and she began to punch and claw at the shark, trying to fight it off. But her efforts were futile, and the beast only became more enraged, attacking her with even greater ferocity. Each second felt like an eternity as the shark mauled her mercilessly, leaving Patricia helpless and vulnerable to its wrath. As Patricia thrashed in the water, her friends screamed in terror, their cries echoing across the lake. The once tranquil waters had turned into a crimson pool, tainted by the blood that flowed from Patricia's wound. Despite the pain, Patricia fought to stay afloat, pushing and punching the massive predator in a desperate attempt to free herself. The shark finally released her leg, but it was too late. Patricia was too injured to swim back to shore quickly, and her friends watched in horror as the shark continued to circle her like a vulture, waiting for its next opportunity to attack. Suddenly, the water erupted as the shark leapt out with breathtaking speed. It was like a torpedo, homing in on its target with deadly accuracy. The shark's massive jaws opened wide, engulfing Patricia's head and upper body in one swift, bone-chilling snap. Blood sprayed across the water's surface as the shark crunched on her flesh and bones, decapitating her instantly. As quickly as the attack had begun, it was over. Patricia's mangled carcass slowly sank into the water, her leg and head missing. The shark, sated by its prize, retreated into the depths, leaving behind a gruesome reminder of the tragedy. The authorities arrived at the lake to investigate. After a long search, they found Patricia's mutilated remains on the banks of the lake. Her friends could hardly bear to look at the gruesome sight, and the memory of that day would haunt them for years to come. It was a chilly December in 1952, but the biting wind didn't deter William and Brooke from seeking refuge in the tranquil waters of Lover's Point in Pacific Grove, California. The pair had been best friends for years and found comfort in each other's company as they braved the elements. On the chilly winter afternoon at 2 o'clock, William and Brooke bravely plunged into the frigid waters of Lover's Point, California. The air was crisp and the waves were choppy, but the two friends were determined to make the most of their daring swim. They frolicked and laughed, splashing each other with water and enjoying the thrill of the icy waves. Despite the biting cold, their excitement kept them warm as they swam further into the bay. As they ventured deeper into the sea, the water became murky and almost opaque, and they could barely see anything beyond the distance of 8 feet. Nevertheless, they pushed forward, their carefree spirits leading the way. Suddenly, in the heat of the moment, William swam too far away from Brooke, who struggled to keep up with his friend's pace. Brooke's heart pounded with fear as he called out to William, his voice lost in the waves and the wind. He desperately tried to orient himself and locate his friend, but the vast expanse of the water made it difficult to see anything. As Brooke paddled through the water, he strained to hear over the crushing waves. Then, amidst the roar of the ocean, he heard it. William's voice rang out in a desperate cry. Brooke's heart raced as he pushed his body to swim faster, his arms slicing through the icy waters. Finally, he saw his friend thrashing in the water as a monstrous creature attacked him. The great white shark was a behemoth, spanning 16 feet from snout to tail. Brooke felt a chill run down his spine as he watched the creature's massive jaws clamp down on William's leg, ripping through flesh and sinew easily. The water turned red with blood as William screamed in agony, his body tossed back and forth like a rag doll in the beast's jaws. Without a moment of hesitation, Brooke surged forward. He knew he was risking his own life, but he couldn't leave his friend to die alone. His heart pounding, he swam closer to the shark, every stroke bringing him closer to the terrifying creature. In the chaos that ensued, the ocean became a frenzy of violent splashing and thrashing, with William's helpless form caught in the jaws of the giant predator. The water around him turned a deep crimson red as the shark's razor-sharp teeth tore into his flesh. Brooke watched in horror as his best friend was lifted several feet into the air, helpless and at the mercy of the monstrous creature. Despite the danger, Brooke summoned his courage and swam toward the attack scene. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest as he drew closer, and his stomach churned as he realized the severity of William's wounds. With a hunting knife, he began to gouge the shark's eyes, hoping to free his friend from the predator's grasp. But the shark was relentless. Its powerful jaws clamped tightly around William's leg. Brooke's attacks only made the shark angrier, and the serrated teeth continued sinking deeper into the flesh of its helpless victim. William's screams of agony echoed through the water, growing weaker as his strength began to wane. Still, Brooke refused to give up. He knew that he had to keep fighting, that he couldn't let his friend die in the jaws of this monster. With renewed determination, he began to stab and gouge at the shark's eyes with all his might. And finally, after what felt like an eternity, the shark recoiled in pain and retreated back into the depths of the ocean. In the aftermath of the brutal attack, William's body was a dreadful sight. His leg hung limply, barely attached by a few strips of skin. Multiple lacerations and bite marks marred his body, some bleeding profusely. Luckily, 4 courageous swimmers came to his rescue, pulling him onto an inner tube and fighting against the waves that crashed against them. But as they struggled towards the shore, the shark circled them, its beady eyes fixed on its prey. It seemed that the predator was waiting for the perfect moment to strike again, to finish what it had started. The journey to safety felt like an eternity, with the shark constantly lurking in the shadows, waiting for its chance to pounce. Finally, they reached the shore and laid William down, but it was too late. The damage had been done, and the reality set in that he had not survived the attack. As they examined the gruesome injuries that covered his body, they could only imagine the unbearable pain he must have felt. The shark had bitten him at least 4 times, leaving a trail of carnage in its wake. William's right leg was almost completely severed, and the femoral artery had been cut. His left thigh, torso, and back were gashed, and a large chunk had been ripped from his right buttocks. The sheer brutality of the attack was undeniable, and it would go down as one of the most vicious attacks in the area's history. Scores of beachgoers had witnessed the horror unfold, and the memory of the brutal attack would stay with them for years to come. The beach that was once a place of joy and relaxation now held a grim reminder of the dangers lurking in the ocean's depths. In 1961, Wilson Dueling, an experienced scuba diver and spearfisher, thrived in the sweltering heat of Key Biscayne, Florida. The atmosphere was filled with humidity and the refreshing scent of the sea. The breathtaking beauty of the location captivated him as the vast ocean stretched out before him, like an infinite blue expanse. Dueling's passion for exploring underwater came alive in this place. With each dive, he encountered mesmerizing sights, maneuvering through colorful coral reefs and vibrant schools of fish. On this particular day, Wilson was accompanied by his trusted friend Marcus. Together, they ventured along the coast of Key Biscayne, searching for the perfect catch. The sea was calm, and the sun was beating relentlessly on their backs, but Wilson was unfazed. He was a master of this environment, intimately acquainted with its quirks and dangers. As they ventured deeper into the ocean, Wilson's senses were heightened, scanning the depths for any signs of danger. He knew that the bull sharks that prowled these waters could be unpredictable, but he also knew that they generally kept to themselves, leaving the scuba divers alone. As he delved deeper into the water, he saw a massive bull shark 15 feet long lurking in the distance. Wilson had seen bull sharks before, but this one was different. It was larger than most, and it didn't seem to be in a hurry to leave. Instead, it circled him as if studying him with a sense of curiosity. Wilson tried to ignore it and focused on his task, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the shark was watching him closely. Despite his attempts to ignore the shark, the creature's presence grew more ominous with each passing moment. Wilson was on high alert, aware that this wasn't normal behavior for a bull shark. His attention shifted from fishing to the shark, which had become more menacing with each passing minute. The once clear waters now appeared murky and dark, as if the shark had brought a cloud of unease. The water churned as the massive bull shark streaked towards Wilson and Marcus, its dorsal fin slicing through the water like a knife. As it closed in, Wilson's heart raced with fear and confusion. He had seen countless sharks before, but this one was different. It seemed to be studying him, eyeing him up like a piece of prey. Frantically, Wilson signaled to Marcus, but before they could react, the shark lunged towards them with incredible speed, its powerful jaws gaping wide. The air was filled with bubbles as Wilson fired his spear gun in desperation, but it was too late. The shark's teeth sank into his flesh, tearing through skin, muscle, and bone with terrifying force. Wilson's body thrashed wildly as the shark shook him like a rag doll, its razor-sharp teeth leaving behind gaping wounds that spurted blood into the water. Marcus watched in horror as his friend's body was ripped apart by the frenzied predator. Marcus's heart raced as he watched the attack unfold before his very eyes. Time seemed to slow down as he scrambled to come up with a plan, any plan, to save his friend. But before he could act, the shark's powerful jaws clamped down on Wilson's legs again, tearing through flesh and bone easily. The water turned red with blood, and Marcus could feel his heart pounding in his chest. With a sudden burst of strength, the shark jerked Wilson's body to and fro, shaking him like a chew toy. And then, in a single violent motion, the creature ripped both of William's legs from his body, leaving him to drift lifelessly in the water. The relentless shark, undeterred by the havoc it had caused, persisted in its ferocious attack, driven by insatiable hunger. In a horrifying moment, it savagely locked its jaws onto Wilson's torso, its teeth sinking deep into his flesh, causing agonizing pain and tearing through his muscles. Marcus knew he had to act quickly as the shark continued its attack. With steady hands, he aimed his spear gun at the monster, its barbs glinting in the sunlight. Taking a deep breath, he pulled the trigger, the sharp point of the spear sinking deep into the shark's gills. The beast thrashed and twisted, writhing in agony before retreating to the murky depths. Marcus struggled to heave Wilson's motionless body onto the boat, the weight of his friend's remains like an anchor dragging him down. He could feel the tears mixing with the salt water on his face, a futile attempt to wash away the pain and anguish he felt inside. But it was too late. Wilson was already gone, his life snuffed out by the brutal attack of the bull shark. Marcus could only stare in disbelief at the mangled remains of his friend, the water around them still stained with blood. He knew that this incident would forever haunt him, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the dangers that lurked in the depths below.